Belief in witchcraft is universal. It has both negative and positive responses. In a neutral sense, witchcraft is sorcery, the magical manipulation of forces by casting spells and conjuring or invoking spirits. It has been used by humankind since prehistoric times in an effort to control the environment and enhance daily life. Throughout history, witches have been feared because they were believed to be evil, in consort with the devil, and able to fly through the night on a broomstick and shapeshift into magical creatures. The same women who were sought after, healers, midwives, the wise women and crones, for help were the ones who were also feared for their knowledge. In truth, witches are in tune with nature and with themselves. They are men and women who are dark and light, day and night, healer and justice all in one. To be a witch is to be a keeper of balance, the essential witch. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Essential Witch. I am your host, Raven Wings, and tonight I have my very special guest with me. I have Rev Terrie Brookins with me. Thank the gods. Because the show that I had planned for you has become a learning experience for me. So I want everybody to get to learn at the same time. And hello, everybody in the chat room. I've got Robert waving in the chat room. Hi, Robert. I've got a schooling of my own, so I want to share that with all of you. Do not put all your faith into one book if you're going to learn something. And I know better than to do this, and I kind of put my faith into one book. And come to find out from talking with Terry, my faith in that one book was a little over-exaggerated, and I shouldn't have had quite so much faith in one book. Because I'm trying to learn Hoodoo, and I thought the book that I was learning from, and I'm not going to mention a name because that's just wrong, I thought the book I was learning from was actually accurate, and it's not. So this is why Terry's here with us tonight, because we're going to ask her lots and lots of questions. And I'm going to highly suggest anybody who wants to learn this form or this path, whichever you want to call it, to really, really read a lot more than just one book. So, hi, Terry.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Oh, I'm ducky. How about you?
Oh, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something. I can tell you that much. It's going to be one of them days. It's like a Monday on a Thursday today. So, but yeah, we are going to talk a little bit about Hoodoo with you tonight. And I want you to kind of give us a little bit of like history, basic knowledge about Hoodoo, basically what Hoodoo is, if you could.
That's both a complicated and very simple answer, as always.
Mm-hmm.
Hoodoo is a magic system that I would say got its early beginnings in the American Deep South during the time of slavery and oppression until this day. So you're looking at you're looking at a giant melting pot of different cultures that came together in one sort of concentrated area. So you're looking at the Gulf of Mexico. So you have people who are First Nations or Native Americans, Asians who were coming in from Japan and China. You're looking at Haitians who came up. You're looking at, of course, the slaves that came from all points of Africa. You're looking at the Celts who came across from Great Britain, who were basically sold into slavery. So you have this huge melting pot of people, different cultures, and from that came Hoodoo. So basically, it was using what people had that looked like the same things that they had at home. So basically, this root looks like the same root I used for magic back in my homeland. Will it be the same here? Hot dog it is, and there we go. So that's yes.
Okay, so now
that's why you have different things that sound really weird.
Yes.
Like in Hoodoo, there's something called Kyoto powder.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have something named after an Haitian capital in
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans. So what's the connection? It's because of the different cultures that were happening at the time.
Now, hasn't some of it blended with forms of Christianity as well, and like with the saints and stuff from Santeria and stuff like that?
That would be mostly voodoo.
Okay.
Now you got to remember that hoodoo, what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
is just the magic system.
Okay.
That's it. It is a system that anyone can use. It's very, very
No matter what your path is, you could use hoodoo.
yeah,
It's
no
kind
matter
of
what your
like
path
being
is.
a witch. You don't have to be a
Right.
pagan to be a witch.
That is correct.
Okay.
And basically because the two names sort of rhyme, voodoo
Mm-hmm.
and hoodoo, most people think that they're related. Sort of. So it's like I said, it's both a complicated and simple answer.
Mm-hmm. Now, in hoodoo, now correct me if I'm wrong, because that's why you're here tonight, hon. Um, they do use a lot of herbs and plants and roots and trees, like animal bones, stuff like that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they do.
Okay. Now, is chicken a big part of hoodoo, or is that more voodoo?
That would be voodoo depending on the path.
Okay.
So it could be voodoo, voodoo, any of the other ATRs, the African traditional religions, or any of those that came from Haiti. So you can use it. There
Okay.
are times where you can use animal parts in your practice as a hoodoo practitioner. However, it's up to you and your own quick point.
Okay. Very understandable. That makes sense. Now, with hoodoo, being that it's a magical system, and I hate the way that I'm going to word this, but I don't know how to word this any other way. Is it a black or white type of magic? Is it a darker side of magic? Is it a lighter side of magic? What exactly is hoodoo magically?
It's just magic.
Okay.
It,
So,
it is neither dark, it is neither light, it is just magic.
okay.
Basically, it's like, is this butter evil? I don't know. It's butter.
Yeah,
It can be
exactly.
used for good or evil. It doesn't matter. So,
Yeah, well, that's why I was trying to I'm like, how do I word this? I'm like, well, if you make, like, they say voodoo dolls, and I'm sure in hoodoo they make dolls as well.
yeah,
Okay.
they sure do.
So if you were making a hoodoo doll, not a voodoo doll, but a hoodoo doll, what would you make a hoodoo doll for?
The same things you would make any puppet for because
Okay.
it's simply puppet magic.
Okay.
With a different name.
Okay. All right.
But you
That's what I
also
wanted
have
to
to
check on.
remember, just to clear up the whole pin thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not to kill people. It is to direct energy.
Yeah.
So let's say Raven Wings made a puppet for me or a voodoo doll for me, and I'm having trouble with my back. So basically, she would make it for me. She'd either put a little bit of my hair on it or stick my picture on it, and then she would take a pin and focus, her own energy, her own magic, and basically pin it right to my back, and that's where the magic would come in.
Okay.
So just
That makes sense
not to
because
kill anyone.
yeah, you see them portrayed in movies and television and stuff as I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna make him, do this, that, and the other thing, with this pin, and it doesn't work that way. I'm gonna make myself
Well,
a voodoo doll and give myself a back rub because my back hurts.
you could, you know,
Yeah.
you could do that. Sure, you could. Just remember that, you're working on an energetic level,
Hmm.
and you might have some fun with that. So
Yeah. No kidding, huh? That could be a really good time, depending. Anyway. Moving off of that, so that would be very, very interesting. All right, so I know you practice hoodoo.
I do.
Okay. What are some of the most, well, no, I don't want to word it that way. What are the most common things you would do with hoodoo?
Well, hoodoo is basically about control.
Okay.
It is about control of the world around you and how other people interact with you. So you have to remember that hoodoo was made by all those indigenous peoples who were basically uprooted from their own homes
Mm-hmm.
and then forcibly brought here, or because of whatever was happening in their hometown, they couldn't stay there anymore. So this was the only place they could go. So basically, the hoodoo was made for people who wanted to control their environment. So let's say here I am, 18th century, excuse me, early 19th century. Basically slavery is now abolished, but I'm still getting slack. If I want to get, my boss off my back from keeping me from working 15 to 25 hours extra every day,
Mm-hmm.
I would basically use a little bit of hoodoo to control him or control how I get another job.
Okay. So it would be more of how do I put that kind of magic? It's more of I don't want to say controlling magic. It's more of a focus type of thing. You're very, very
Yes.
focused, and it's a lot of intent with this
Yes.
form of magic then.
And you're right, it is a controlling magic. It is indeed. Basically, you want to control what's happening. You want to be in charge of all the energy that's working around the situation, and that's what you're doing. This isn't
Okay.
a sit back, relax, set it and forget it kind of spell thing. This is basically you are interacting energetically with the situations that are happening.
Which would make sense. That would make absolute sense. Now, when you're doing this type of magic, would somebody who, let's say, practices Wicca have a problem with that? Being that it's kind of like self-based. It's you're doing something for yourself. And I mean, I know there are a lot of different paths out there, and I'm not trying to just pick on Wicca, which will say that, you should never do magic for yourself. It's not supposed to be for personal gain. But this is a form of magic for personal gain. See, I think all magic is personal gain, but,
Exactly. All
yeah.
magic is for personal gain. You could sugarcoat it all you want. It doesn't work that way.
Mm,
So if you're going to practice Wicca and you want to practice hoodoo, you might have some problems because, like I said, a lot of the workings, the tricks, the mojo is for controlling things, controlling the outcome. And I find that many people get tripped up with trying to follow the threefold law,
hmm
or even
The reed. Yeah.
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 Whereas in hoodoo, it's I need this now. Get it done. Let's
Yes.
just do it now. We're not going to wait for the moon. I don't have time for Mercury to get out of retrograde. I need this fix now.
Yeah, most of us don't have time for Mercury to get out of retrograde because it seems like it's never out of retrograde anymore. It seems like it's
Yeah.
always there. It's like,
Well, and right now we have 5 other planets that are in retrograde, so it's all a giant, you know what? So
oh yes, oh yes. I've found that lately. Yes, indeed. So this is not a form of worship, so to speak. It's not a form of religion. Um,
correct.
but do you work with deities or strictly with energies?
Well, which answer will help you sleep better at night?
The right one? Considering I'm all screwed up with this.
Well, you can choose to work with deities or with energies as long as you are aware that, let's say, some deities aren't really receptive to this kind of magic. So yes, you can try to lay down a hoodoo trick. That's great. That's fine. That's wonderful. But if you're going to try to put in, a Greek pantheon name, you might have a problem. Because if you're going to throw Hera's name around with whatever you're doing, she
hmm
may not like it.
Yeah.
And then you just screw yourself up even more. In my experience, the reason why the saints and the angels are used so much is that within the Christian idea, the angels and the saints are there to help everyone, no matter the path. They don't care. If you call for help, they will answer you. The end.
Which is similar to Santeria, isn't it? Don't they use a lot of the saints and the angels in Santeria?
Yes, but in Santeria, it's more of a formalized path.
Okay.
Whereas in Santeria, if you're going to be doing these type of things, you should get initiated. You should have, your mentors who will teach you the right way to do these things in the Santeria way. So Santeria, Palombe, kind of all those things.
Okay.
So not quite the same. It's basically the difference between being a good Samaritan
hmm
and being an Orthodox Christian.
Okay.
Sure, there are some parallels there, but as an Orthodox Christian, you're going to have a whole lot more, power about what you do
Mm-hmm.
and more understanding about the intricacies. Whereas, just as a good Samaritan, sure, you're just doing the right thing, and if it falls in line, it falls in line. There you go. But with the angels and the saints, they're sort of, they just sort of go across all lines. They don't care. So if you call on them, they will answer you. Now, just for those people in the back, don't get cocky. Don't
Okay.
get cocky and decide that you're going to call down, every archangel to help you out, to get that new job or pass that test or whatever, because they will tell you about yourself.
Mm.
And yeah, oh yeah, and sometimes they may not even answer. They'll send a lower caste angel to say, "You wanted what? Really? Move
Have you
along."
lost your mind? Yeah, I kind of got that with talking with Cypress Sky on Sunday. She
Mhm,
deals with angels and stuff like that. Now I don't. So
mhm.
it's good information to know, but she's like Gabriel's a jokester. He will
Yes.
joke with you.
Oh,
And she goes,
don't. Oh,
then there are other ones that won't even deal with you because you're just not
yes.
on their level. So
Oh
she's
my
like,
God.
yeah,
Like the Archangel Michael, if you don't talk to him on a regular basis, he won't even talk back. He won't even send a lower caste angel to talk to you,
he's just
to
like, yeah,
ignore you.
pff, yeah, whatever. You forgot
Whatever.
about me. Psh.
I have bigger things to do right now.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
go away. So it's important to, when you're working with these deities, these spirits, and they are energy forms,
Hmm.
to form a relationship with them. Even if it's, "Hi, my name is Terry. Please don't smite me today."
Yeah, right.
Um,
Please don't. I'm having a
hey,
bad enough day. No
I've actually
lightning.
had those conversations with deities. Okay, so, and
I,
that's a story for another day,
I,
kids.
and I was thinking working with Fae were bad. Okay, I
Oh,
have enough
oh
problems
God.
dealing with the Fae. So yeah. Um, Now, I'm going to ask this, and I know I'm wrong. Now,
Go ahead. Go
Ash,
ahead.
now Ash, deals with voodoo more than hoodoo.
And that would be a Shay.
Okay, see, got that part
So
wrong already. So Ashe.
it's called a Shay. It's
Hmm.
it's sort of like Life Force. It's sort of like V Force, but it is more in voodoo
Okay, then hoodoo.
and
See, I
those
think this is the
African
biggest
mythology.
problem with anybody who tries to study this, and I totally admit to being a noob. The reason that I started getting into it was because of all the herbs and stones and bones and everything else that you work with, and I thought, it'd be really cool to learn. But it seems like in my process of learning hoodoo, I'm learning much more about voodoo, and it's not called voodoo on the book that I'm learning it from. So I'm just so
Oh dear.
confused. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk later about
Yeah,
that. But yeah,
we'll have to talk about that.
yeah. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'd be totally into learning voodoo too. But it would, you need to know where the line is drawn between hoodoo and voodoo. You know what I mean? And it
Right.
seems like
And
a lot of the reading that I've gotten, just has blended that two line. Those two lines are completely blended. And if they're not technically the same thing, then they probably shouldn't be blended that way.
here's a quick FYI. In order to learn voodoo, you will never learn it from a book,
Yeah,
ever.
you have to learn that
You
from a
have to,
practitioner.
from a practitioner. You will probably have to join a house.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's not the same. You
Yeah.
can't ever learn that from a book.
So I wonder if that's why they write these books and call them hoodoo instead of voodoo.
Some people write books just to basically write books,
Mm.
and I know that's pretty sad, but there you go.
Yeah.
Um, um, I am in my other lifetime, I am a social media manager,
Hmm.
and that's what's called newsjacking. Because right now, voodoo and hoodoo are really cool and trendy. So anyone who basically has access to Lulu or Amazon Publishing will quickly write off something about, you know, voodoo or hoodoo, and then basically get on the wave. And then, of course, they're out spreading misinformation, which
And
is
then
why you
and
have
then
to read
people
a
like
lot of
me,
books.
and then people like me who are a novice who have no clue. Because I admit, I know some things, when it comes to herbs and stuff like that, and my actual path of earth magic, that I know, and my kitchen magic. The other things, not so much, but I love to learn. You know what I mean? It's just sad that the material that we're getting is not correct. And that was kind of why I wanted to do the show this way. And I'm kind of glad I had you read all my notes ahead of time, because I would have made a total fool out of myself. There would have been hoodoo people out there going, she ain't got no clue to what she's talking about. So yeah,
Well,
it was.
I have to tell you that with hoodoo and voodoo, regardless, one of the energies that you work with are the spirits of the dead. So the mighty dead reached forth. My father, may he rest in peace, was actually we waked him on this day. He passed away in 2012, and this was the day that we had his service. And he was an English teacher for about 35 years. He reached forth through time and through me and looked at your notes and say, yeah, she can't say this. Nope, she can't. Nope, 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 nope. Yeah, we just look.
Thank you, Dad.
I'm like, Dad, no, stop.
Thank you, Dad.
So,
thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank Dad, because, you know, he must have faith in me then, because if he's telling you, don't let her do this. Don't. No,
well,
that poor girl.
Like you said before, it's just a matter of there are a lot of books out there. Most of them are not that great. But it's just that for myself, because I've been doing this for quite a few years, I have read a lot of books, and a lot of them are like, are you kidding me? What? Am I high? Is it high? I'm not sure.
Did something change? Yeah.
Did something change?
Yeah.
And then you basically have to go out and actually talk to actual other people.
See, and that's, and people like me who are in, you know, the wonderful state of Maine, you're not going to find hoodoo and voodoo practitioners up here. And if you do, they are highly closeted. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's like trying to, I don't have the pagan community like a lot of places do. I know in the South, which is weird because that's the Bible Belt, they tend to have more pagan communities than up north does. I mean, we have Salem, Mass, but to be quite honest, I've gone there every weekend, just about. I would go there when I lived in Massachusetts, and it's become very commercial, you know. So there are only a few shops that I will actually even go into that are actually run by people who know what they're doing, and not just on the bandwagon of, oh, we're in Salem, Massachusetts, and we have a witch shop, and that's all that matters. We don't need to know what we don't need to know what we are selling. We just need to sell it, you know. And there are quite a few shops like that in there. But there are wonderful shops, too. It's just they're hidden. Most of the really good shops are not right where you're going to find them. But, you know, and it's sad.
I am. Yeah. And even where I am, you still have to basically be very careful about who you talk to and how you approach them, because most of the people who actually know what they're doing, they actually are testing. They want to see if you are actually willing to do the work and slog it out and ask questions, because, you know, a lot of hoodoo is oral tradition and personal gnosis. And thank you, Miss Mary, for that name, for that term. It's personal gnosis. So it's how you do things. Like you won't ever find a hoodoo recipe for anything that is the same in any 3 books. It's always going to be different, because you have to work with what works for you. For myself, I use a lot of herbs. I don't use animal parts. Animal parts, they don't work well for me. You know, because in my little Taurus heart, you know, sometimes I am a pacifist and I don't really like hurting animals. Sometimes they're delicious when they're chicken.
Yes.
There we go. But I don't use them in my magic. So anything that requires animal parts, I will not do. But that's my personal gnosis. I have just as much success using my herbs and my stones and my oils. They are fine. So it all depends on what you want to learn and how you learn. And they're watching you. They are testing you. They want to know if you are actually going to find out that if you're going to read more than one book, if you're going to ask the questions, if you're going to hang around, you know, the people who look like they know what they're doing and silently sit in the back taking notes. Yes, I do that. Sometimes you just got to be real quiet and listen and take a lot of notes, because you're not going to find a lot of things in books.
Yeah.
There we go.
And that's the truth, you know, and as sad as that is, you know, and we rely on the internet so much now, you know. I mean, most of the people I know have, and I'm sorry, but I'm just totally against this, the whole Book of Shadows on the internet having your book of shadows on the internet. The reason that I am against this, and if you do it, great, and it works for you, great. My issue with it is my book of shadows is handwritten for a reason. I put my energy into it when I write it. Plus, if I'm doing something, I'm old now, and I like to be able to have my book of shadows open to where if I'm doing something that I've even done 100 times and I can't remember one ingredient that I've done, it's there and it's in front of me and I can read it. You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know. I'm just old school that way. And when it comes to taking notes, you should see the amount of notes I have. It's not on my computer. I have notebooks like all over the place from, taking notes. The stuff that I type up on my computer has already been handwritten once. So it's like, and that's just what I do. And, I used to be able to take the mental notes where you would remember things. But as I get older, hell, I write a list to take to the grocery store and I forget the list at home. So, or I forget to write something on the list. So I've learned that, and I have Post-it notes and sticky notes on my calendar and, because I can't remember everything. So I don't know. I'm a note taker too, so I like notes, and I'm going to be taking classes from Terrie. She just doesn't know it yet, so I'll be taking a lot of notes. So, yeah, Terrie's going to be teaching me hoodoo. She just doesn't know it yet.
Oh, lovely. More homework. Hooray.
Oh, yay. Hey, I'll help you with your aromatherapy. You help me with the hoodoo, and it'll work out great.
I'm all for it. I'm good with that.
Okay, that works.
That's beautiful exchange of energy. I'm all
yeah, and I mean, I'm sure we'll both learn out of it too. So, because how could we not? Now, here's a question for you. You use herbs, you use oils. Do you use stuff like coffin nails and graveyard dirt and, all the weird names that they always, come up with for these different things?
I can. I haven't had an opportunity to use them because it's basically like nuking things from space. If you can use a machine gun, why would you want to nuke it from space?
Yeah.
So, but they are used well. It's just just more advanced things that are happening.
So if you had I have coffin nails. I have no idea why, but I picked them up years ago and I still have them. What would you use coffin nails for in a hoodoo type of spell?
In my experience, and of course, everyone else's mileage will vary. In my experience, it is to basically put things in motion and keep them there. So basically, coffin nails are basically put in and they were expected to stay there forever because the person's dead. They're not going to get out.
Right. That would make sense.
Basically, if I want to put myself permanently in a job where I'm making good money, I would basically put in a coffin nail. But don't forget, this is my personal note.
Yeah.
They may work differently for you, or for someone else, they could have a completely different meaning.
True.
For someone else, it could mean that I am basically sealing your fate, and I am driving the nail in.
Yep.
So if I want to control whatever someone else is doing, and I say, yep, this guy is going to leave his wife, he's going to burn his house down, and then he's going to lose his dog. Coffin nail, bam, done. And he can't get out of it.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, in hoodoo, it's very specific. It's very intentful.
Yes, and it's all about what intent you have, and also, much like in herb magic, much like in all folk magic, it's also about what do these things mean to you. So for me, it means I'm going to set this intention, and once I do it, it's done. There is no getting out of it, the end. So for myself, I don't use coffin nails that much because I like a little freedom when I move around.
And a little bit of a back door if you need it.
Yeah, so if I get myself caught up in something that's a little bit too much for myself, I need to be able to move around and not literally kill myself and raise myself from the dead.
Right.
It'd be bad.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. Not good. A couple of them.
No.
Yeah, Pet Sematary and Practical Magic. Neither one of them turned out really well.
They never do.
They never do. And Kat in the chat room is offering classes. See?
Oh dear.
I told you. We're going to come up with a show for you yet. You're going to be teaching classes or something. All right, everybody. If you want to hold on for just a little while, we are going to play some of our commercials so you guys can hear some of our wonderful sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to discuss some more about hoodoo. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Are you ready to have some fun? Then come and check out Raven's Shadow Crafts, home of the Poppet with a Pocket. These unique handmade poppets come ready to go, pre-stuffed with herbs and in colors designed for your intent. They also have a pocket on the back to add any herb, stone, or personal item you want to make this poppet complete. Just charge and it's ready to go. Other handmade items are gree-gree bags, goddess symbols, mini skull magnets, and more. So check them out on Facebook at Raven's Shadow Crafts. Park your broom and stay a spell. That's www.facebook.com/Ravens Shadow Crafts. We'll see you there. Are you looking for something special? For something more than mass-produced and ineffective magical wares? Then let me tell you about Beau Magique, with their wonderfully unique magical wares carefully handcrafted in small batches. From her charged waters using artisan well water gathered under the full moon, to their authentically crafted conjure and anointing oils, powders, and more. All handcrafted by Rev Terrie Brookins, using old and new recipes and super secret sources to be able to share her own brand of magic with everyone. Visit beaumagique.com. That's BEAUXMAGIQUE.com. Visit today. This is what you've been looking for.
Okay.
And welcome back, everyone, to The Essential Witch. I am your host, Raven Wings, and tonight I have with me my very special guest, a wonderful person, Rev Terrie Brookins, who is teaching us about hoodoo. Because I need to learn about hoodoo, because everything that I've learned so far is completely wrong. So we're all having a learning class today. I'm learning, you're learning, we're all going to learn today. So and then we're going to kind of rope her into like teaching classes or something here. We're working on that. So I'm working on it. Give me time. I'll get her on here doing her own show and we'll get her doing some hoodoo and stuff on her own show. We got to get Terry on here. She needs her own show. She really does. So, write her letters, send her emails. She loves emails. Send her lots and lots of emails. Facebook messages. All of that stuff. Okay, so here's a question for you. The broom in hoodoo, does it have a significance?
Yes.
Yay, I got something right.
Yes. It has a large significance, but maybe not for the way you think. So most people know the broom basically from watching a lot of Roots and seeing people jump the broom.
Yes, and isn't that a Celtic wedding tradition?
That is a Celtic wedding tradition. And with hoodoo and reading all these books, you have to know where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back in Celtic lore, there is a young fairy princess named Erinrod, who I'm sure you all know.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Erinrod's brother Gwydion is trying to marry her off. Basically, Math, the guy who's, is basically now engaged to her, says, I'm not quite sure you're all pure as the driven snow. So why don't you step over my rod?
Nice.
Yeah, anyway, so basically it's his magician's rod. It's basically his staff, his rod. Yes, everyone snickering in the back. That's exactly what it means. Just move along.
Yes.
And
nothing to see here.
See here. She steps on the rod and kabam! She basically gives birth to 2 kids. So basically that's how it is.
Okay.
It's basically crossing a threshold because there's no turning back. And then in the Celtic lore, when you cross that threshold with someone, basically you are now on a journey. And
See?
basically,
Which sounds much better than what she originally said.
so basically, if you put some bristles on a staff,
Mm-hmm.
voila, you now have a
You now
bed
have a broom. Yep. Nice.
Exactly. Once again, you can still direct energy with it, and it still has the same sort of threshold significance. So you have some great broom lore here. I highly suggest that you tell people about it.
Would that be, let's see, with the molasses and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, the broom bristles can be anything that is a bristle. It could be sorghum, it could be any sort of branches, it could be pine, it could be anything that has sort of just bristles on it that will sweep things up.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so
All right.
it doesn't have to be sorghum.
All right. Well, from what I have here, and Terry's going to correct me if any of these are wrong. So, brooms should be treated with respect. Never rest a broom on the bed, or it's believed to cause a sleeping person to die. You think?
Could be.
Broom straws should be stored facing upward. Now, I've always done that. With my besomes, I never put the bristles down. I've always put them upwards. Because it says to put them downward on the floor. It's said to bring bad luck. And this is
using it for magic energy, yes, because basically all the energy that you have put in the broom now runs out.
Okay, that makes sense. If you step over a broom or it falls as you start to leave, you may expect death to follow. Now, I've stepped over a broom before because it's fallen, and I've stepped over it to pick it up, and I haven't seen any death. So, knock wood.
And don't forget.
Knock wood.
Don't forget, death is also. It's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's like the death card in the tarot.
Or it's an analogy.
Yeah.
Something may come to an end and need to be started all over again.
Yes, it could be just the end of a situation, not the end of a life.
Right. So if you think of it that way, it'll make a lot of sense, and a few more things will start clicking like, oh yeah, once I stepped over that broom, this ended and it was really sad, and then something else began. So that's sort of what it what it means.
Ah, okay. Carrying a broom inside the house is a sign that a death is coming to the family. How else are you supposed to bring a broom into the house?
See,
I can't fly. I would like to. I would really like to fly around on a broom because I think it would be a whole lot of fun. But I can't think of it. I can't think of any other way to bring it in. Let's see. If you go to look for a new home to purchase or rent, carry your broom under your arm. Or throw it through an open window so it enters before you. It's supposed to bring you luck.
Well, it basically, if your broom is your staff and it carries all of your energy with it, if you put the broom in first, it now dispels all the other magics that's there.
That would make sense.
So basically, it's literally sweeping the way before you. It's clearing all the way before you.
Well, that makes sense because, I've used a besom to sweep away energy before, so that would make sense. Mm-hmm. If you sweep while you have company, you're sending bad luck towards your guests. It's a sign of bad manners and means you want your company to leave. Now, I've done the whole, if you've had somebody at your house, and you don't want them to ever come back, to sweep the footprints out the door. I've done that one before. But I've never done it while they were there. Here, let me sweep you right out the door, okay? I'm not quite that bad.
And if Kat's who I think she is, she'll tell you that if you're in my house, sometimes you're picking up the broom out of my hand and sweeping for me. So there we go.
Sweeping after dark will bring sorrow, poverty, and bad luck. Now, I can honestly say I have swept after dark. I had 5 children in the house. So, needless to say, the only time I could sweep was when they were in bed.
Yep.
So.
Now you know where this comes from, right?
No.
So, if you're looking at sweeping after dark, who, in the great, crazy, interesting history that is the world, usually it's the servants that are sweeping.
Yeah.
Right? Usually not the lady of the house.
Nope.
So, if the servants are up at night and they're sweeping, they're doing something.
Yep.
So yes, it may bring sorrow, poverty, and bad luck to the masters of the home.
Ah, that would make
See,
sense.
it's all about context.
Ah.
It's all about context.
A person hit by a broom will be arrested or will have other forms of bad luck. I'm personally thinking if the person gets hit with a broom, the guy who hit them or the girl who hit them with the broom should be the one that gets arrested.
Well, there is, but you know, and if you want the context for that one, it's basically your broom is basically now charged with all of your energy.
Hmm.
If it hits someone accidentally, they now have a huge discharge, just like getting shocked.
Hmm.
So yes, they're going to have this huge imbalance of energy in them, and yes, they're going to have some time trying to get all of that sorted out. So they may actually have bad luck. So in order to fix that, basically, if they get accidentally hit with a broom, that is a magical item. Basically, you help them balance their energy. Problem solved.
There you go. A broom falling across a doorway means you are about to step into unfamiliar territory. If it accidentally falls, it's said it is best to walk backwards.
So let's go back in time where we talked about Arian Rod stepping over that rod.
Yeah, she should have stepped backwards.
Well, it was unfamiliar territory. She didn't know what would happen.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, 2 kids later, she found out.
Yeah. And she didn't know what would happen if she stepped over. So yes, it is unfamiliar territory because it is crossing another threshold.
Which makes sense. Sweeping is never advised on a Monday or a Friday. Now, this is good news for me because that means house cleaning can't happen on Monday and Friday. And bad luck will happen for a full year if you sweep on New Year's Day.
Sometimes. I've seen a lot of interesting things about New Year's Day traditions. However, it's what you believe.
Yeah.
If you choose to believe that, then guess what's going to happen?
Yep. It's kind of like walking under a ladder. All the superstitions, If a black cat crosses your path, it's probably because it's got some place to be. That's my version on it. If a black cat crosses my path, I consider myself lucky. So,
Pet it.
Yep,
Seriously,
exactly.
give it some tuna. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Black cats are not evil. They don't steal your soul. They steal your heart. They're so cute. We have a couple of strays out here that are black cats. So, yeah, I talk to them when I can. Brooms cannot be used for games or for cleaning altars.
See, would you walk around with a loaded gun and say, "Here, let's play spin the bottle"? No.
Right.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd want to use it to clean my altar either. That's just...
Now, yeah, it's charged with energy, and now you're just sweeping that over all your other tools, which now put an imbalance on them.
Yeah, especially if you've charged your other tools for a different intent. Now you got to start all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Brooms are used to increase gambling luck and for unhexing a person.
I've seen it done.
See? Some of these are good. I actually had some good information. They're also used in ceremonies and rituals. And I've seen that done. Wedding ceremonies, the hand fasting ceremonies and stuff. I've seen them done. Rituals, I've seen them done. The broom is a symbolic boundary between opposite worlds. It says, in Hoodoo, never take your broom for granted. Store it with respect and replace it as soon as it gets worn, and never burn it. You will call down the wrath of the fierce gods and the goddess if you do.
Well, that one is
partially true.
It's partially true.
Yeah.
And you've just stored a crap load of energy in this broom you've had for X amount of years. Do you really want to put it on a fire and let it burn? Yeah. It's basically about... You're basically just putting like a giant can of, gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, probably would not be a good idea. And Robert in the chat room just said, y'all ain't been to Alabama before, LOL.
Hey, Robert, I actually lived in Birmingham. I went to school in Homewood, so I have been to Alabama.
Well, Robert,
I live there.
I know who Robert is. Robert is from Robert and Stevie with Candles by Stevie. So their shop is in Alabama. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he'll come in on a couple of different names, but I know when he's got the numbers behind his name, I know who he is. He can't hide from me. What should we do to retire an old broom? Cardio wants to know that.
That is a good question. For myself, and everyone else's mileage may vary, I would ceremonially and energetically drain as much of the energy as I possibly could. And then basically, I would put either bury it at the base of a tree or give it a proper burial in earth, in fertile earth. That way, because it's wood, it
Hmm.
now returns to the land and it energizes the land. But that's me.
That makes sense too. Now, would you disassemble it? I was going to say dismember it, and it just didn't sound right. Would you disassemble the broom?
I would not.
Okay,
I would
just
put
leave it all intact
that.
and bury it just
Yeah.
the way it is.
Now,
Okay.
if it has if it has like metal bits or plastic bits in,
Yeah.
yes, I would take that apart.
Yeah.
Because those won't decompose.
Well, you shouldn't use plastic brooms anyway, correct?
Let's all breathe. Sometimes you just have to do what you got to do.
Well,
Voodoo is about using what you have.
Yeah, I heard you can't use plastic brooms because they don't hold energy. That was what I heard. Through many different books on that one. That one's in a lot of different witchy related books. Nothing really much on hoodoo, but yeah, a lot of witchy related books. They talk about not using plastic, although they tell you not to use metal either. And I'm thinking metal would be a great conductor, depending on what you're using it for.
With metal.
Yeah.
Because if you use copper, basically you've just given yourself a live wire because it conducts electricity and magic very, very well.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
You just have to, basically, you have to practice a lot and know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah. Now, with herbs, are there a lot of specific herbs that are used in hoodoo?
Yes and no. They're the popular ones that you'll hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Like High John the Conqueror root, hyssop, St. John's wort, buckeyes, the devil's shoestring, orris root. You'll hear a lot of those.
Okay.
But basically, if you have, every herb that's on the earth, you could use for hoodoo. It just depends on the intent and what the herb is for and the correspondences there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Now, with hoodoo, your correspondences for your herbs are the same as they would be for another practice, basically? Like, we use sage to smudge, let's say, because it's a purifying and a protector and a cleaner type of thing. Would it work the same way in hoodoo? Would it be used for the same purposes?
It could be. But in hoodoo, there are other things that people use for clearing energy in the room. Because, well, not because, but it's practiced that they don't burn a lot of things.
Okay.
They don't burn a lot of incense. They basically use a lot of sprays and waters and things like that for cleansing and purifying.
Which is like your Florida water and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
Your Florida water, your Kananga water, your bay rum, those are used for cleansing and clearing and things like that. So there's just not a whole lot of things that are burned.
Okay. Now, stuff like hot foot powder. I've heard this name. What would you use that for?
So hot foot powder is used to do what's called laying a trick.
Okay.
Basically, you want people to get away from you. You would in my experience, I have to put that first.
Yes.
In my experience, you would take the hot foot powder and sprinkle it wherever it would cross their path so the person could walk in it. And then basically, like they have a hot foot, they're basically going to move away from you to go deal with their other stuff.
Ah, so it's kind of like a getaway type of thing.
Yes.
Yes.
And you'll see it in many, many names.
Yeah.
Many, many different recipes, but but that's called laying a trick.
Okay. So when you're doing a spell, so to speak, in hoodoo, it's called laying a trick.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. All right. Robert in the chat room says camphor.
Camphor? You could. Traditionally, camphor wasn't that easy to come by. So usually those who were practicing hoodoo, who had a lot of money, who had a lot of influence, they did use it. But in my experience, not a whole lot. You're looking at the citrus, herbs, oils, and scents because of what they do just naturally, which is cleanse and purify environments, and of course they kill cancer, they kill all sorts of things. So there we go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Plus, most of the hoodoo came from the south too, so the citrus trees are there. So they work, I'm sure, with a lot of the actual natural herbs and trees and elements and everything else that were around them, correct?
That's a funny story.
I knew I'd get a story out of her yet.
That's a funny story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away called Germany,
Mm-hmm.
there was a company that made a cologne. And that cologne was made by the current trademark holders are Lanham and Kemp Barclay. They were brought to the States in the early 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a unisex cologne because in the early 1800s there wasn't really something called deodorant just yet.
Yeah.
And people didn't bathe as much as we would like them to. Let's all breathe through that.
Yeah, well, there's still that problem now.
See, I was trying not to go.
Well, I go to Walmart, so you know.
That's all right. So once upon a time, Lanham and Kemp Barclay, the current trademark holders of Florida Water, they brought this to the States from Germany.
Okay.
It was basically meant to be a sort of cologne that will help, dissipate the stink.
It's like Axe now.
Oh, good God. What happened was that the energy workers at the time, so your preachers, your energy workers, your hoodoo men, your hoodoo women, your mambos, your hoogans, your conjure doctors, your root workers, they're like, holy crap, this stuff clears energy out of a room like nobody's business. Voila.
So they found a use for it.
They found a use for it.
Other than stank.
Other than stink. Yes, so Florida Water was basically started out as a cologne for men and women.
Oh,
that,
wow.
so basically you wouldn't have an offensive stench around you. And voila, it does the same thing for the stink as it does for the stinky energy in the room.
That's good.
It sorts everybody's stuff for them, and there we go.
There you go. And it's not like Axe. You can actually spray it without, gagging to death. I had 3 boys. You don't even know.
Oh,
you don't even know.
I'm so sorry.
I keep saying they need to put like a serving size on the can of spray. And I tried to explain to them, you spray it in the air, you walk through it. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the commercials look ridiculous. So let's say the ones who came over from Ireland, your Celts,
yeah,
and the ones that came from Africa and Hades and everywhere else. Now, I'm sure they had their own way of doing things and their own herbs and stuff that they were used to using that they couldn't get when they got here. So I'm sure a lot of the stuff began to change, and they had to find new uses and new herbs and new things to. So I'm sure that hoodoo has changed over the years. Or has hoodoo just been in the States?
Oh, no. Hoodoo is basically folk magic.
Okay.
Folk magic is everywhere. It's only called hoodoo in America.
Okay.
It is everywhere. There are things that are done in hoodoo that are done other places in the world, just with a different name.
Ah.
So
See?
it is simply folk magic.
So it's basically, the United States gave it this name. So it's folk magic, though. It's the oldest form of magic, then, because that's what folk magic is your older forms of magic that were handed down from generation to generation to generation. Right. Yeah.
And don't forget that in hoodoo, since a lot of this is oral tradition, not a lot of things are written down. There are things that we do and herbs that we use that sometimes we don't even remember why we use it. We just know that it works. Yeah. You use this thing, and you say these 3 words together, and kabam, it's done.
It's kind of like how I make dinner. That's how I make dinner. Oh, Roger will come in and go, "What are you making?" I don't know, but it'll be good when I'm done. I'm like, I just know what to put into it. And that's what it is. It's a lot of magic and a lot of everything, whether it's hoodoo or anything else, is just trust your gut feeling. If you think that and that will go together and work for the intent that you want, try it.
And And that's why a lot of people's mileage will vary, and why you can't find any 3 hoodoo recipes that are the same, because
Yeah.
it has to be what works for you.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that, because that's the way any kind of path should be. It has to work for you. But we're going to have to do this again, because an hour just is not long enough.
Oh my God, it's been an hour?
It's been an hour. I only did one set of
Oh,
commercials. Yeah, I know. We're going to have to do this
Whoa.
again. We're so going to have to do this
We're in
again.
trouble.
I know. I like it, though, because next time I'm just going to bring pen and paper and just let her talk, and I'm going to sit here. I'm just going to take notes. So, coming up next, we do have a new show, though. Animal Wisdom with Lady Stars and Fire is going to be coming on after my show. And this weekend, I will be back with you on Sunday with Ellen Everett Hopman. I had the name in front of me. Who is an author and an arc druid. And we're going to be talking about her book, Secret Medicines from Your Garden, which is an amazing book.
Cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I highly recommend anybody who's into doing herbs. This is a great book. It gives you medicinal stuff as well as, magical things to do with your herbs. So great book. And next Sunday, I'm going to have another hoodoo show. I am actually having San Ellis. He is a hoodoo practitioner from New Orleans who is going to be coming on next Sunday. So we'll be talking more hoodoo. So I know you're not going to want to miss that show, because you're going to like him. San Ellis is a really nice guy. Talked to him a couple of times. He is true hoodoo. So I'm going to be taking classes from him and Rev Terrie for the rest of my natural life, because it's just so confusing. But yeah, we will.
It never stops, and it's always growing.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, though. It's good to learn, and it's good that when you can find someone who actually knows what they're doing to help teach you, and that's a big part of the Pagan Business Network as well. It's networking, and that's something we all need to be doing.
And you can't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you're probably never going to know.
Yep, exactly. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and chatting with us. And I'm so sorry, Robert. No, an hour's not long enough. I need more. Poor Robert.
Oh dear.
Poor Robert. We'll be back on again. I'll make time for Terrie. Terrie and I will work on a show together. That's not a problem. Terrie may just come and sit with me all the time. I don't know yet. I may just have Terrie as my sidekick. I'm not sure yet. I got to get her on the air somehow. So we got to start somewhere. So, but thank you so much, Terrie, for coming in and talking with me and helping me straighten out my nightmare of a mess with Hoodoo Voodoo.
No worries.
Yeah, we will talk more, though, definitely.
You asked me, and I gave you what I knew, because that's what you're supposed to do. And
exactly.
You'll be fine.
All right.
Keep asking questions. You'll be fine.
All right, everybody. Have a great night, and stay tuned for our new show, Animal Wisdom with Lady Stars and Fire. Thanks for listening.